Foul is fair. Chapter 2, Transitions. Megan woke to her mother's voice. Why is the window open? Megan unburied her head from her pillow, squinting at the light filtering in as the curtains waved erratically. Don't know, she admitted. Well, try to be more careful. The rain getting in would be a problem. Rise and shine. It's the bus today. I can't give you a ride because of event meetings with 3 potential clients. Let's go. We've had a good schedule going for weeks, so let's keep at it. When her mother left the room, Megan finished working herself out of bed, moving to the mirror and untangling her mop of reddish curls. She normally wouldn't wish her mother's hair, long since trained to her severe buns, on anyone, but some days it'd certainly make brushing easier. As soon as she had her hair tied back, she checked her pills. 5 minutes left on the timer meant 5 minutes to get to breakfast. Megan figured it was a good thing she'd finally adopted her mother's habit of laying her clothes out the night before, like she was supposed to. The timer went off just as she got to the kitchen table. There was no getting out of eating. Megan poured her cereal, added milk, picked up the spoon, and took a breath. Bite by bite, she shoveled it into her mouth, chewed, and swallowed. Breakfast was the most important meal of the day. For one thing, the multicolored pills functioned better with food. She wouldn't need a timer at lunch, at least. There was a school bell to remind her to eat then. Megan made the bus stop just in time. Lonnie was already aboard from her earlier stop. She got up to let Megan have the window seat, as always. Megan took it with a thanks, then stared ahead for a moment before remembering to get out her composition book. So, how is everything? Lonnie asked. Okay. I want to work on the next type of conic section graph for math. The new formula was x minus h squared divided by a squared plus y minus k squared divided by b squared equals 1. Megan would need to keep straight which shape was which. She'd been thrown off so many times before. She started writing. Oh, that's okay. Need any help? No thanks. School happened. Megan took notes. Her latest art assignment had not done well, and Mrs. Chang looked sad handing it back. Megan didn't know why. Her butterfly pictures had always gotten good grades before. For this one, she'd drawn a dozen identical butterflies in even rows of 4. Megan had no idea what Mrs. Chang's problem was. Lanny's remarks as Megan raised and lifted the fork through lunch seemed awkward. So did their conversation on the bus that afternoon. Was that Lanny's guilty face? It was hard for Megan to tell anything with Lanny anymore, but there'd be time to figure it out later. X minus h squared divided by a squared plus y minus k squared divided by b squared equals 1. Lanny didn't get off at Megan's stop this time. Megan let herself into the little off-white house and poured herself a glass of water. She tried to work on the formula. X minus h squared divided by a2 plus y minus k squared divided by b2 equals 1. The timer went off. She took the orange pills with her glass of water. Something tasted strange, but Megan tried to get back to work. She got out the graph paper with the coordinate system, plotted out the horizontal curves, and properly labeled it with the appropriate equation, double-checking 3 times. Then it was time for the vertical oval. In the course of drawing it, Megan became aware of the fact that she had a headache. She got up and got herself another glass of water. Having drunk it, she was putting the glass away, intending to get back to her desk when her stomach growled. It almost took Megan a moment to remember what to do about something like that. It wasn't even supper time and she was hungry. Half an hour later, Megan was on the couch with her 3rd banana in one hand and a 2001 photo album in the other. She looked at the last photograph pasted into it, above careful calligraphy that read, Sheila, Rick, and Megan. Sheila O'Reilly looked tired, certainly, but there was still something in that tired smile that Megan never tended to see in her mother. Megan was newly 2, her face covered in ice cream. Holding her was a lithe-looking man with long hair, and somehow she knew he had a voice like chocolate, dark, deep, and rich. Megan had always told herself that she was silly, that she'd been too young to properly remember now what his voice sounded like, but she knew it all the same. Her mother's car pulled into the driveway. Megan put the photo album back on its shelf and hurried back to her desk. What had she been doing? Right, she'd been labeling the graph. Somewhere. In the morning, which seemed to come so much sooner, with much less counting sheep than usual the night before, the headache was worse. It was a good thing her mother could drive her because Megan was just slightly behind schedule. During the drive, her mother occasionally glanced anxiously at her, asking after her headache, which Megan had not been able to hide. Megan shrugged it off. She looked at the charcoal pantsuit and pinned-up hair, thinking of the green jacket and long flowing hair in the photograph. She looked at the anxious expression and thought of the smile. She didn't say anything, though. Some things they'd long since learned not to talk about. School happened again, fortunately on a Friday. They were reminded that their assignment on graphing conic sections was due Monday. At lunch, Megan bit into her sandwich and almost, for a moment, savored the peanut butter goodness before clutching her head a little. Lonnie really did look worried. She looked worried on the bus ride home whenever Megan looked up from the circle equations, which were x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. But Megan almost thought that part of Lonnie's worried expression looked almost hopeful. She got home, let herself in, got out the graph paper, and went for the water. When the timer went off, she took her pills. The taste was strange again. Citrus, she decided. But maybe it was something to do with the headache. She checked over the listed equations. She drew a small circle to the left of the leftmost horizontal curve and carefully labeled its equation. Then she drew another on the right of the rightmost curve. Then an additional pair on each side, and 2 diagonal line segments jutting out from the top of the oval. Megan had to eventually stop herself, go back, and check all the equations for each component before writing them. Then she sat for a moment, looked at the spotted butterfly on the carefully labeled graph paper, and got out her colored pencils.